just one of those podcasts.
I'm Will.
I'm Ryan. And this is one of those podcasts.
It is,
you
man.
know,
That it
those
is.
people that they do podcasts. You know those people?
Yeah. We're one of them.
Yeah. Podcasts became really popular in the past, couple of years.
Yeah. Do you know there's some podcasts that have been going on for almost 10 to 12 years now?
That's crazy.
And speaking of one of those people that have one of those crazy podcasts that have been going on 10 to 12 years, our subject of today is one of those people.
Oh, yeah, he does. He's got quite a few.
An empire, some would say.
I would lose track after a while. Like, what podcast am I doing today? There's just too many.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 that he does. Not all at the same time. I know some of them are in hiatus, but at one point, 4 or 5.
Dude, I mean, I gotta hand it to him because I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do 5 different podcasts.
We're barely making it through one.
I know.
We're trying to get going on one. I can't imagine trying to do 5.
It's ridiculous, man.
I don't know how you do it.
All credit to him.
Yeah, dude.
But I figured we're going to take a couple podcast episodes to do some filmmakers because we're both a fan of film and
that we are.
And movies and whatnot. We did our first episode on, the decline of physical media because we're movie buffs and everything.
I mean, we want to keep this podcast as open to anything that we really want to talk about, but we're going to have a lot of film-centered podcasts because we just like film.
More than likely, yeah. So, I figure we take a director and go through a little bit of backstory and their filmography, and then talk about their films and what we think about them and how far they've come and where they're going in the future. And there's a lot of great filmmakers out there, that we could have done. There's Spielberg and Scorsese and Kubrick and Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson, David Fincher.
That's quite the list.
But we're not going with any of them today.
No, we're not.
No. We're going to go with Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who is a guy primarily known for making comedies. Starring Jay and Silent Bob. Well, not necessarily starring, but featuring.
He's got some really common character,
Jay and Silent Bob.
Buddy Jesus. Buddy,
Yeah.
Which I would say a lot of people know that figurine, but don't realize where it comes from.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Which I find funny because if they only knew.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm he's my favorite director.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the crap out of everything that he does. So it only seems right that that's the first one we go with because
right, yeah.
I would have told you no to anything else until we did the Kevin Smith episode. So we're gonna do the Kevin Smith episode first.
That's fine with me. I mean, I'm definitely a fan in many ways, shapes and forms. I like a lot of his movies, particularly his early ones, and some of his other out of the box kind of movies too that we'll get to at some point. So we figured we'd just kind of go through and figure out his filmography and explain it all. And before the Marvel Cinematic Universe, before cinematic universes were a thing, he was already making movies that took place in the same quote unquote
universe, dude.
Yeah,
that's where it was at.
So he was already doing that. I mean, other films had done that too, but
come on. But you name another multi-movie universe.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, it's Vunisc universe, Marvel and Marvel. Those are come on.
So yeah,
Harry Potter. Come on, he's there. That's where he's up, man. He's up there.
Yeah. So he's been doing that for quite a while, or was doing that, and then kind of paused. But we'll get there. We're
kind of getting ahead.
Yeah,
we're jumping way far ahead.
So where did Kevin Smith come from, besides out of his mom's vagina?
Which he would say and tell you himself. Born in Red Bank, New Jersey. So he's a Jersey boy, which is spread out through all of his movies.
Yeah, it's very
a lot of
prominent.
them are based in New Jersey.
And a lot of filmmakers do that. They take the area they grew up and make it a central point in their films.
It's like another character. The character is the character of New Jersey is in spread out through all of his films.
Yeah. Just even authors do it. Stephen King, almost all of his novels take place in Maine. Because that's where he was grew up or whatever.
I mean, you're right. You write what you know. And
Yeah.
So he knows New Jersey, and that's what he wrote.
It is kind of strange though, because I feel like if I made a movie, I would want it to be like as anti this area as possible.
That's true.
But
I mean, still though, you can make some pretty creepy, screwed up like horror films out of this area.
you could, yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes just like driving around, it's a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to try too hard. But I mean,
Yeah, you go to Walmart, it's a horror movie. Okay, so he was born in New Jersey,
right?
and probably just like average guy, wasn't born into the business at all.
No, wasn't born into the business. Like, I mean, he talks about dad worked at the post office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what his mom did. She had like he's had one brother, one sister. So she kind of raised the kids. He, worked as his dad worked in the post office.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like they grew up in movies. It wasn't a big thing. Like he talked, like him and his dad used to go to the movie. Like, this is weird.
Uh-huh.
I know way too much about this.
I mean,
I feel like I could just recite this myself.
Yeah.
But him and his dad used to go to the movies all the time. That's kind of where it came from, and then kind of grew from there. But as for like being in the movie business, not in his family.
Wait, what year was he born?
He was born 1970.
1970. So he would have been really young when like the Star Wars boom came out, because I know he's a big Star Wars fan.
Right.
He's always crying whenever he hears an update about a Star Wars movie. So, but he would have been right at that prime age of seeing the Star Wars movies when they came out.
I mean, he would have been, I mean...
So that makes total sense.
Man, lucky him. He got episode 4, 5, and 6.
In the theater, yeah.
In the theater. We got 1, 2, and 3.
I mean, well, I did see 4, 5, and 6 in the theater, but they were the special edition re-releases. And as a kid, I didn't know any better, but now, as an adult, would have been so cool to see the original.
I'm to the point where I'm not even sure I've seen the original, and that kind of bums me out.
The only time I've seen them were our local video store, Video Circus, long ago, used to have the VHSs of the original.
You can't find them nowadays.
Yeah.
Like they.
But I remember renting them.
Yeah, right.
Way back when.
Right.
And I know I watched them, but the thing is, like, I was so young that like I don't even remember like the differences really.
And I think that's what bothers me is I can't remember the differences. I would love to see the touched version to see.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But so no,
Alpha Star Wars. We'll do a Star Wars podcast some other time.
That just kind of proves that we should do that. But no, he would have grown up that time period.
And he was also really into comic books as well.
Yeah,
right?
Ebbed and flowed in and out of comic books. Mm-hmm. I think that was more of a later in life thing for him. But
okay. Well, because he has a lot of knowledge on it. Like he's a pretty hardcore like sweaty. Sweaty was a term that John Schnepp used. He was on a show that I watched. If you're like really like super knowledgeable and into a particular nerdy subject.
I mean, he's wrote a lot of comic books as well.
Right? Like, yeah. He's written.
A lot of people don't realize that, but because he's written some Batman arcs, some Daredevil arcs, Green Arrow arcs. He's wrote. He did a Batman 66 book.
Oh yeah, that's
with
right.
Ralph Garman.
Yeah,
like he's done quite a few comic books. Like so, not only was he's a huge fan of comic books, but he also wrote some comic books. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on, he owns a comic book store as well. So
yeah, which also plays a part in his films. Like
there's like guaranteed like a comic book scene in almost every single one.
Right. Yeah. That's basically what I'm getting at as far as like. So he must have grown up with all this stuff and then incorporated it into his film. Like as a child, saw Star Wars probably super young, so that's why like so many characters talk about Star Wars in his movies,
right?
You know, and then he was like in the comics and like Brody from Mallrats. We'll get there, but like super big comic book nerd is the main character. So it's kind of cool that like he didn't grow up in the movie business, and because he was like a child at heart and loved all these nerdy things, he would later incorporate that into all of his films, which I just think is pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna get like I'm like overwhelmed because like I like genuinely like love these movies, and like I think the other thing like he took all those things. I just like how dialogue heavy his movies are. They're not over the top.
Yeah.
They're not. I just like how they're all dialogue heavy. Like I don't remember another movie that like when I first sat down, I'm like, I mean, he makes jokes about it. Like it's just two dudes in front of a camera talking, or two characters in front of a camera talking. But I like that.
Sometimes less is more.
Definitely.
Okay, so he was a kid, enjoyed all this stuff. He grew up. I know he went to film school for a little bit.
Vancouver Film School. Yeah.
So
I think it was Vancouver.
So he definitely already had an interest in making movies, but. Correct me if I'm wrong. He stopped going to film school because it was just didn't feel like it was for him, or he didn't.
Yeah. Well. God. Yeah, he went to the Vancouver Film School, and then he talked about like because that's where he met Scott Mosier, which was they still do stuff together to this day.
Right, and Scott Mosier is a producer, correct?
He was a producer. Yep. Well, that's not initially what he set out to be, but yeah, he was also at the Vancouver Film School. He kind of fell into the producer role. So for like a lot of the early Kevin Smith movies, he was on as a producer. It's also where he met David Klein, who would go on to help film a few of his early ones. He didn't do Mallrats, but he did like.
Okay.
We'll get there. He did a lot of the early ones. So like he met a lot of people there, and I think he talked like about like when it was getting into like the second half of the year, like there was going to be a second part where you'd have to pay. Mm-hmm. It was like a 9 or 10 month program, and they were getting into the second half of the program, and it was kind of like rather than spending the money that they were spending to go there, he didn't really find it helpful. There was a good chance he wasn't going to be able to direct. It kind of was all up in the air. So instead of doing that, he kind of decided, well, I'm just going to go back to New Jersey, start writing, and kind of do it on his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of filmmakers have like similar stories, or at least share similar advice. Whereas they would say like film school isn't necessarily a bad thing, but if you want to learn how to make a movie, just make a movie. Like, get out there and make films is what most directors would say. Film school is really good for not collaboration, but for meeting people.
Networking. Getting to know other people, finding other people that like what you like.
Right, yeah.
Which is in essence what he used. In essence what that turned in for him. He met Scott Mosier, would go on to do a lot of things for him. David Klein. They would. Mm-hmm. And they went on to be just as successful in their own ways.
Right. So. So then he comes back to New Jersey, and then is that when he got the job working at the Quick Stop Groceries?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm going by this all off on the top of my head. So, like, if anybody else is listening, I apologize. This is like all off the top of my head.
Well,
I don't know when like he exactly started it, but I'm pretty sure it was after he came back. Mm-hmm. That was about the time where, or he started working there. Then he went off to film school, and they came back to the same job because they did film the first film there.
Right. Yeah.
But there's also a big chunk we're missing in the fact that like during this time, him and one of his friends were going into New York to watch a whole bunch of indie films, which also kind of sparked the whole, do it on your own, like,
right.
Is it Robert Rodriguez? There's this like, I had a turtle.
Who made El Mariachi for $7,000.
Right. He's just like, I knew I had a turtle. I knew I had access to this. Mm-hmm. And blah, 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 and this is what I use. So, like, he's watching people like that. Linklater had a film coming out, Slacker, that he always talked about.
Slacker's a really good movie. That's a movie with all people talking.
See, that my memory's not that bad. But, so, like, he talked about how that was influential at the time, like, seeing other filmmakers who were like,
right.
The idea, like, looking on the screen and be like, I could do that. Like, that was all a part of it. I'm not like exact on what happened before what, but that's all going on like during this time period, and all of that kind of culminates into
him thinking that like, well, I can use this location that I have, the store that I work at, which nowadays that would be like totally taboo. Like I couldn't film in a store, that I worked at. Like that
I don't see that happening. I know
there would be like no way I'd be able to do that. But
although that would be pretty dope.
I've thought about it,
dude.
But there's no way. Like there's just no conceivable way to do it.
I bet if you asked the right people the right way, you could get away with it. Maybe.
I don't know. More on that later. But but yeah. So what a great idea, So he's working retail,
Right.
and he's got this location. And so what better idea than I'm going to write a movie about a guy working retail and a day in the life. It's a day in the life movie. It takes place in one day.
Yeah, which, I didn't realize that until like a little later on when I was just like, oh, wait, it is all in one day. Because that movie like feels like it's not. I enjoy it because it feels like it's not all in one day. But then I really sat down. I'm like, wait, it all happens in one day. In movie time, it happens in one day.
Yes.
Like, it's really bizarre because it just feels like a movie that goes over a few days and it's really just one day.
Yeah. So he made a movie about a guy that works retail and appropriately titled the movie Clerks. He wrote it. He got Scott Mosier to produce.
Right.
And I don't know where they got the film equipment from.
David Klein shot it, and they rented. The first time they did it, they rented the equipment.
Okay.
Because he talks about the first camera. They filmed in black and white. They rented out the first cameras. It was some company up in like New York, and they were loud. They were like, so all they talked about it was so loud and trying to film and all that like they had to like cover the machine up to get the camera quiet enough that it wouldn't interfere with the sound. So that's where all the equipment from. They rented all the equipment the first time around.
Gotcha. Yeah. So made this movie called Clerks, and
Did you know though that Clerks was not the first movie he wrote?
oh, what was the first movie he wrote?
Dogma.
Oh, he wrote that first.
He wrote it first. It wasn't the first one he produced. It wasn't the first one made. But there was already like, if my knowledge serves me right, it was like a really rough draft of what would end up being Dogma.
Okay. That's curious because, I mean, did he actually intend to shoot it, or was he just writing a script to like hone his skills?
I think the intentions were to try to make it. I think after Clerks it got pitched at one point.
Okay, just because I'm thinking like effects wise, and if he's like starting out with nothing and no budget, like Dogma would be quite the endeavor.
Yeah, I think it was more like he was writing it with, because I mean he was Catholic. There was the religious background there. So I think he started to write that. And as I said, it was like a really rough draft. Whether it was what we saw, no, probably not. But it was close. Like there was some there. But I mean, Clerks was the first one that was written because he had gotten the idea to do it because they was sitting in the middle of a.
Yeah.
But then I think after Clerks, that was one of the next ones. But then they were like, no, let's do. What about Mallrats? Clerks in a mall.
Right on.
So
what do you think about Clerks? Because I'll tell you like my thoughts. Clerks is probably, it's not necessarily my favorite, but some days it is. Just because here's the thing about Clerks. You could call it a comedy, but to me, that movie is a drama where just like things that are inadvertently funny happen to the character. Because Dante's not having a good time.
No,
he's not having a good day. He's not funny. Dante's not funny. He's just an average guy that's just trying to like get through the freaking day. He's called into work. He's not supposed to be there that day. He's got all these problems. The shutters are jammed closed. He's dealing with these issues, dealing with stupid ass customers. He's got this girlfriend that he's with, but he actually really wants to get back with his ex-girlfriend. And it's just like all of that, none of that sounds funny. Like none of that, like
no.
none of that sounds
yeah,
like
it's just
a comedy.
somebody who's like having one of those days where they're gonna deal with every little stupid piece of BS.
Yeah,
and it just compounds into this just ridiculous day.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is like, you might watch some of those scenes, like the scene where the guy gets the Pringle can stuck on his arm, or the scene where the guy comes and he wants to use the bathroom, and then he wants to use can I have the porno mag to take with me back to the bathroom? That stuff might seem like exaggerated jokes for a movie, but anybody that's actually worked retail, that's stuff that happens all the time. Like none of that stuff is really exaggerated. Like that's just what happens when you work retail. You just experience these weird things.
Right. And I like that. Like, I mean, I like the movie. The thing about what that movie was and is, and one, everybody in that movie would talk like how I would talk with people. Mm-hmm. Not exactly, but like for the first time, I'm like, yeah, I would talk about Star Wars. Like, yeah, I would talk about those things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would like inadvertently like just drop like curse words. Like it was just like, it was nice to see somebody like talk like that. That it wasn't like,
yeah,
it was just very matter of a fact. It wasn't like everything didn't seem so calculated. Like it like,
yeah.
they had actual conversations on film, I guess. It doesn't feel like it was such a staged conversation. Not everything moved. Not everything had to move the plot forward like quickly. So like it was just like
it's about a guy that's stuck at work all day, so he's making the time go by.
Like you're literally watching a guy go through a day at work, where nothing is going to go right and nothing is going to go his way. And then like how many relatable things are in that movie? Like how many people can relate wanting to get back with an ex, or being with one girl but pining for another? Like
or having that one friend who's a lot more like casual that you would like to be, but you're a little too uptight, you know, like,
and can walk around and not give a shit, and, can do all those things. Like how many of us can relate that? So there's like a lot of relatable qualities to that movie. So like I really like, that's what I really enjoy about that movie. It's just, I mean, there's just like a lot of small things I like about it.
And it was also the introduction to Jay and Silent Bob, the characters.
Yes.
Which I didn't know at the time, because I first saw them in Dogma, actually. So he had this idea to have these stoners that are out, or these drug dealers just outside the store, and he decided he was going to cast his friends first, right? But then he changed it so that he
was originally going to play the role of Dante. Like Dante was written for him, like he would, that's why, like, he has, I think it was Dante. Like, he has all the better jokes, or he was going to play Dante or Randall. Like, I think it was...
I don't know. I feel like he would, like, have felt himself to be like a Dante, and so maybe, like...
I think he was to be Dante, and then Brian Johnson was the one that he based Randall off of. So, yeah, that's how it was going to be. Like, they weren't going to be casted that way, but he was originally going to play, like... He was going to play Brian O'Halloran's character. Realized that, like, I don't want to memorize all this, and blah, 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 blah. So then he made up... Then he came up with... Silent Bob was always in the film, so he's like, I'll play Silent Bob. And then everybody else kind of rotated around. But, yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell...
Yeah, and then so he was already friends with Jason Mewes at the time that he got to play Jay, essentially. So he was just like us, basically like grabbing your friends to be in the movies, you know.
Dude, I'm having one of those really weird moments right now where I feel like a Kevin Smith historian, and I'm just like, yes, that is true, that is what happened. Well, yes, no, that's actually wrong. It was this that happened at that moment in time. Like, it's making me uncomfortable.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, in part because, like, I don't want to be wrong, because I would, like, I feel like I would have to go back and lynch myself 3 times because I was wrong.
This is why we pull up the Wikipedia.
Yeah, but part of me wants to be like, I'm going to do it without the Wikipedia. I am that good. Like, I'm really not, but, like...
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll keep having this weird crisis where I'm feeling like a historian and, like, reverberating somebody else's life back, which is just really weird, but go on. I'm just gonna pretend I'm on the History Channel. We're just doing a film pod.
I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah. The only reason I'm asking you is because I just, you know, you got the info.
Yeah. How much have I like looked at it?
I don't know.
That's the thing, though. It's there, but.
So yeah. The thing is, like, okay, so you're a guy making a movie, and you make it on your own. You don't have any ties to the film business, so at some point you have to finish the film and try to sell it. Or somehow, or show it somehow. And I imagine that would probably be the most difficult part. Making a movie is hard, don't get me wrong. But if you don't have any ties or connections whatsoever, getting your film shown and bought
kind of complicates it a lot.
Really complicated, yeah.
Yeah.
But somehow we managed to do it. And then Miramax, I think, was the company that bought it, right? Or, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was bought skipped a lot of history there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, first of all, it was they showed it up at like a film marketplace, and it's kind of where like young, you know, where some director, like, now I think it's for like first time. I can't remember what it was, like the New York film marketplace or something. It's like it's something that happens every year, and it's usually for like people that are trying to get their movies sold, and a lot of them are first-time directors, things like that. So he shows it up into New York City, and it doesn't go well at all. Like, maybe like, I think it was Bob Hawke who was in in the look on your face.
I don't know who that is.
I've lost you. Bob Hawke is the one that pushed it and got it into the world. Like
okay, is he a producer or?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. He's a producer on some stuff, but I wouldn't necessarily call him that. He was kind of like an indie movie guru. Like he found a lot of films, and then he made sure that the right people saw those films, and then made sure that they got out into the world.
Okay, so like a talent scout for movies.
Kind of, yeah. But like he was really influential. Like he saw it. And then he started the ball rolling, and a lot of other people saw it. So, like, it wasn't going to go there. It wasn't going to go anywhere. It kind of was looking like it was dead in the water there. But then that was about the time where it started to pick up some steam. It got reviewed by one of the I don't remember her name, but like one of the local papers. There was a larger paper which got it in front of a lot more people. And I'm gonna sit here and look for it because I can't remember that guy's name. But there was another gentleman who he's the one that ends up actually helping him sell the film because they took it to Sundance.
Wow, that's a pretty big deal to come from just living in New Jersey and then make it into Sundance. Yeah. Also, what I think is really interesting too is that Clerks originally had a different ending where Dante gets shot.
Yeah, it's on the special edition.
The main character gets shot at the end of and dies at the end, which is a horrible ending. Which I mean, it's just horrible. Like,
it's really not that good. I've watched. It's really not.
I don't understand why he even thought that was a good idea to begin with. Just like he just wanted to end the guy's horrible day with. I mean, and that really pushes it out of being a comedy, you know?
Right. I mean, I think somebody said to him, like, don't end it that way just because you don't know any other way to end that movie. Yeah. Which is, and then it was changed.
And it ends when his day of work is over. Like, that's the movie. The movie is he gets called into work, and it ends when he closes the store. Like, that's the film, you know? John
Pearson is the guy that who gets told by, and he's found, you read up on that guy. That guy's also found a crap ton of like other movies too. Like helped produce some of their first works, like Spike Lee. Later, like
he just won an Oscar.
Yeah, he was so Pearson gets like, and he finds out from Bob Hawke and one of the other, I can't think of the lady's name. She also reviewed movies and was also kind of one of those people to be like, you should watch this film. So Pearson ends up picking up, and he agrees to help Smith try to sell the film and get it out there. And then that's when they take it to Sundance. And interestingly enough, they were trying to sell it beforehand before it got there, but then it didn't get sold until they got to Sundance. And then, if I remember right, there was one other movie that got sold at the same time. As that was kind of the female version of Clerks, but both of them went into that not being bought, and they both got bought at Sundance. And it was one of the first times that had ever happened.
Wow.
I mean, nowadays that's all what Sundance feels like. Like either it's already been produced or they go to Sundance to get bought by a larger distributor. That concept was foreign when he did it. So, but yeah, he ends up taking it to Sundance. Pearson helps him get it sold. He ends up selling it to Miramax.
Wow. So yeah, that would be amazing. Like an amazing experience, to have your movie, be all the way up to Sundance and then bought, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty crazy. And from then we get a shit ton of movies.
That we do.
After the struggle of Clerks. So what came next?
Mallrats.
Mallrats came next. And dude, I think Mallrats might be my favorite. In fact, I did a year ago, I did my top 50 favorite films. I did a list on YouTube. And I think I ranked, I don't know where I ranked it, but it was the highest ranking Kevin Smith film. I put Mallrats because to me, Mallrats is like, it's just so 90s that I love it so much. Like, it's just everything about it. Just like Brody's room, how he just has like the old video game system. He's got like the Marvel Comics Punisher poster.
He's got like all the long boxes of comics in its.
Yeah, and just that like culture of like when the mall used to be fun. You know,
like the mall was a place to go to hang out, not just a place to go and get stuff.
Yeah, and just like they meet like a lot of weird, quirky characters throughout the thing, and just Jason Lee just kills it in that movie. He's just so funny. I don't know, everything about it just is enjoyable. I think every scene is funny. Like every scene is just enjoyable to watch.
I definitely agree. I mean, it was.
I think Jay and Silent Bob are like at some of their pinnacle awesomeness in that film.
Oh, come! I mean, they beat up a bunny, man.
They beat up a bunny. They use the grappling hook. He swings into the dressing room. All the things that they do. How they're like trying to stop the TV show from being filmed and whatnot. All the stuff that they do in that movie is gold. And I don't know. I just love it. It's a good movie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, I think it was a bit too early. That style of movie was a bit too early. Like, it was too early for its time. Because, I mean, they talk about, like, his career, like, died after Mallrats. Like, that movie came out and did not do well at all, really.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, though, that movie is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I thoroughly enjoy that movie. Like, if it's on, like, or like I'm feeling down, you toss in that movie and there's like no way. But it was comic book heavy. It talked. Well, it wasn't really heavy, but that was a lot of.
That was your main character was a comic book. That's what I mean from like earlier too. So he's taken his like knowledge of comic books and stuff. The whole opening credits of the movie.
It's all comic books.
Yeah.
And Stan Lee's in
Stan Lee is in it, and this is before any Marvel movie.
This is before Marvel. I mean, this is
95, 6.
I think it was 95. Yeah, Mallrats was 95.
You do that same I mean, obviously you can't now. Rest in peace, yada yada. But you do that same Stan Lee cameo like in a modern day film, it would kill.
Oh, definitely.
Kill it. People would love it.
That movie released now, like, if they would have touched and done that movie now, it would have done a lot better. But because of its time,
nobody knew people knew who Stan Lee was, but like mass audiences did not. So when Stan Lee shows up in Mallrats,
it also didn't help that. No, you got to remember they did the first one with Miramax. They had a multi-film deal, but then they crossed the road and went to Universal for this one because Universal owns the rights to Mallrats. And they did it with Universal, and they ended up showing it at like the Comic-Con that year, and it played like, of course, it's about comics. It plays brilliantly at the Comic-Con that year. So Universal thinks they got a hit on their hands, and then it comes out and it does not play well at all. And so there was like a lot of articles that time period that were like, Kevin Smith's done. Like, there's no way. The brilliance of Clerks is gone. He put out this Mallrats, and it's just not the same. It's just, so that's. I mean so that's Mallrats.
Yeah, I just don't get what people were expecting. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's right in the same. I'd put it like on the same level as Clerks for me. I mean, I guess it's just a different like scenario, different setting.
Right.
But I mean, I still think the humor's there. I still think it's the same. It's the same. You can tell it's the same vision, same voice. To me, at least. So I mean, I don't know.
Some may disagree with that, but yeah, there's a lot of the same things that were in Clerks and a lot of similarity were also in Mallrats. I just think it was just right material at the wrong time. It is just in another 10 years, that movie plays a lot different than it does now.
Yeah.
You put that movie out during like the early Marvel years, dude. Just I feel like it plays a lot more than because you can just play around with the Marvel characters at that point.
Oh yeah, totally. Okay, so did that, didn't do so good, and then he made Chasing Amy.
Right. 1997, Chasing Amy.
With Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck.
Exactly.
Jason Lee.
Big old Ben Affleck, dude. He's Batman. Not anymore.
Rest in peace. I'm so mad we didn't get more Batfleck. That's such a shame.
Yeah.
This also had Joey Lauren Adams in it, Ethan Suplee, who would go on and do some other things. So, but this was early on. No one.
And this is also about comic book people.
Yeah. The two main characters are comic book writers.
Yeah. See, all this stuff, all this like big comic book, sweaty fan stuff, he was doing before this mainstream takeoff of like Marvel and all this stuff.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. I will say that Chasing Amy, for me, for the longest time, it was like my top favorite.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty close to. I would say it actually. I would put Chasing Amy 1 with Clerks 2 being like up the butt of Chasing Amy. Like they're so close for me. It's not even funny.
I thought you were gonna say Cop Out.
Oh God, we'll get there. I don't want to talk about it, but we'll get there. It has nothing really to do with the content. I enjoy that it was. We went back to more of the like two people talking into a screen.
Yeah,
there was like the material was a little bit like heavier than usual.
We should explain the premise of the movie. Is the guy is a comic book creator. At this convention, he meets this girl that he kind of falls head over heel, or he meets her at the bar afterwards, or I forget where they exactly meet each other.
They meet at they initially do like a mini Comic-Con.
Yeah, that's in the beginning, right?
And she's up on stage with Hooch there.
Yeah.
Was not Hooch, that's his Scrubs character. But anyway, he does the whole speech. He like scares everybody out of the room. He introduces to her, and he's just like, they end up going to the club later on that night, and that's where he finds out that like.
Okay, so yeah, he's like head over heels for this girl that he meets, and then he finds out that she's a lesbian, but then she's not really a lesbian because she's hooked up with all these dudes and done all this crazy stuff, and it makes him feel like super insecure, and then he basically kind of like ruins what happens.
It's that like, insecure dude can't handle somebody else's past because like his experiences were nowhere near her experiences, and that just made him very insecure.
Yeah. And again, none of this sounds like a comedy.
Right?
Like,
no,
on paper, the synopsis to his movies are not comedies.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, it's one of those situations where I'm looking at it on IMDb, and IMDb's got it underneath comedy, drama, and romance. Even IMDb's like, it's one of those three, or all three at the same time. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it for that reason. It's funny. I like the storyline. It's heavier on the dialogue. The storyline is the things they're talking about. It's heavy, but not so heavy where you're like I think of a movie that's like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Dude, you watch that movie once and you're like, I love you, but like I'll see you in like 2 years and we'll watch you again.
Right.
You can't watch those and be like, you're just exhausted and you're drained after watching those.
Yeah.
Like you can watch this one and you get some of the similar feelings, but then like before you're like, oh man, this is getting heavy. There's a fisting joke. Like so like there's that nice there's that nice like balance there that isn't so bad. And I mean, me when I first watched it, it wasn't really the subject matter wasn't really that. I don't want to like minimize it, but like it was already
not relevant, or
not that. No, it definitely is relevant. Like a lot of the situations were kind of relevant, but I guess like that movie nowadays is just kind of not to be expected, but like people. I think we expect more people to try to touch that topic now than we would back then. Like, I definitely don't see like he was like, let's be honest, no one was making that kind of movie then. Yeah. At least in my opinion and from what I see. And like, gotta remember, I was like 8 when that movie came out. So like,
right.
I'm watching all these movies like in college. So like, so bear in mind that's where that's coming from. But yeah, I mean, breaking, he'll never say it, but like there were some barriers broken, and you know,
yeah, definitely. And Jane and Silent Bob are also in all these movies. We probably should mention that
they're in Chasing Amy as well. They're in a diner scene.
They're only in one scene.
Yeah, and it's because the comic books they're writing are based. There's characters based off of them,
right?
And my favorite thing, like, and my favorite thing, and I appreciate, is about like the Silent Bob character. Is there's always a moment in every film where like he doesn't talk, and then the one time he does talk, it's like that, like bam, like moment in the film.
Yeah.
And then, you know, unless, you know, then there is the one where it's not that, but like, you know, you love it anyway because he's always painted as the character that like when no one else knows what the hell to do or say, he's always just like, look, like, you know.
Yeah. I like his one in Clerks where he's like, you know, there's a million fine looking women in the world, but they don't all bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you. There's some heavy truth in that, man.
There is some very heavy truth in that.
How many guys would go head over heels for these chicks that are just going to cheat on them, and then these loyal women bringing them lasagna at work when they didn't even ask them to, and they're just like, whatever. Sorry. Anyways, we're past Clerks, but I just
it's true.
I don't like lasagna, but I'm just saying if someone brought me lasagna at work, I'd still be stoked about it.
That's true, man.
Yeah.
I'd be stoked.
Anyways, so then after Chasing Amy,
Dogma.
And this was a big. This is like a big special effects. I mean, not big, but like, as far as his other films are concerned, this one actually had a decent amount of special effects and stuff that he hadn't done before. You know, because this one deals with biblical things. So there's angels, there's demons. I mean, it's not like it's a guy with horns. You know, it's not like
right. I mean, you're talking. He went from a movie. Clerks was what 27,500 or something like that. Or 32,000, somewhere in there.
I don't know.
It was 27,500. So there's that. Mallrats starts to move into the 5-10 million territory. Chasing Amy was only like $500,000, 400,000, because at that moment in time, Mallrats went nowhere, and then Dogma was like 10 or 12, I think, somewhere in there. Don't quote me on that because those are rough figures that I'm remembering, but I think that's
well, the
about
point
where
is
it was.
he was dealing with a lot more stuff than he ever had before. He's not just dealing with characters talking. Now he's dealing with characters that are flying and
action scenes,
destruction, and
I mean,
again, it's not elaborate. I mean, it's not like a ton of special effects.
We're not talking the Avengers,
yeah,
or a Marvel movie. We're talking just more than we're expecting, I guess. I mean, and we're also seeing the introduction of other actors into the, because there's always like the Kevin Smith cast of characters and actors that you always see in every single film. Like even if they're not their characters that they've played in Clerks, were not there because it's all connected. Every universe, as I said, he was doing his own universe, so a lot of the same characters showed up. Even when the character wasn't in there, the actor would still show up in the other ones as well. Yeah. So, but here in this one, this is when it like expands even more, and now we're starting to get into like some pretty big name. Some pretty big name. Alan Rickman is in this one. Yeah. We're starting to get into some pretty big names.
Matt Damon. Chris Rock.
Matt Damon was starting to pick up some steam. Yep. Lyndon Ferrantino. Come on, George Carlin.
Yeah, George Carlin, dude.
Who plays a cardinal.
Yeah. And this movie is about... the plot is very convoluted. I mean, it makes sense when you watch it, but to explain it is like...
Yeah, don't even... Like, it's...
so there's these angels that are on Earth that want to get back into heaven, but they're not allowed to, so they find out a loophole in the system where they can, and our main character has to stop it, or else it'll like destroy the world, or something like that. Yeah. And in the midst of stopping it, she runs into Jane Silent Bob.
Yeah. Who in the storyline she gets the voice of God comes down, who is played by Alan Rickman, tells her that she'll run into two prophets who will blah blah blah. one will be, I forget what the exact line was, but one will be loud and blah blah blah, and one will be the silent blah.
Yeah.
And then she runs into Jay and Silent Bob, and she's like, "Are these the two prophets I was supposed to like run into?"
Right. Yeah. And then they basically start going on an adventure to stop the angels, essentially. And that's the movie.
That's the movie. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah. It's the first Kevin Smith movie I ever saw was Dogma, because it was on Comedy Central, so it was heavily edited. I didn't realize what was cut out at the time. They cut out the entire shit demon scene.
They do in the TV. That sucks.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I think they later they put a little bit back in, but it's definitely weird to watch because it's not there.
Yeah, it doesn't make. I mean, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, that was the first one I ever saw. So I thought Jay and Silent Bob were just like unique to that movie, until the next one came out, which was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
That it was.
Yes. And that's a movie where he wanted to end this connected universe, right? He wanted to put an end to the View Askew world, like end it with a Jay and Silent Bob movie, essentially.
I think so. I don't know whether he necessarily wanted to end it, but if you know anything about that world and anything about Jason Mewes has had some pretty rough go at it with addiction. And this was about the time period where it was getting bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you can watch, there's, plenty of other, there's a documentary on the making of, and he tells a whole bunch in his specials, during that time period, how it was rough.
Uh-huh.
So it really was kind of the, last hurrah for those characters because, who knows, at that moment in time, who knows how much longer Jason Mewes was going to be around.
Yeah. And Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is about the characters Jay and Silent Bob find out that there's going to be a movie made based on their likeness, and they are pissed because they're not getting any of the royalties from it. So they go to Hollywood to try to stop the movie. No, they're pissed because the people on the internet are saying bad things about them. That's why. They want people on the internet to stop talking shit about them. So if they stop the movie from being made, people won't talk shit about the movie. Right?
No, I thought it was because they were making a movie based on Bluntman and Chronic, and they weren't getting any. Right.
Oh, maybe it's both. Maybe it's both the reasons. Because they go to that movie poop shoot, and Jay's like, "Who the fuck said that shit?"
Yeah, because they were insulting the movie and saying how bad it was gonna all these things about the movie.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
Yeah. Did this just means I gotta go back and rewatch it because I feel like I should know better.
And Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back has a lot of cameos from actors that were big at the time.
Oh yeah,
you got Sean William Scott in there,
Mark Hamill as Cockknocker.
Yeah, Jason Biggs. You got Eliza Dushku as one of the robber girls, and I like me some Eliza Dushku. You got there's so many. George Carlin shows up again as a different character. And then you also have cameos from all his other movies. You got characters from Clerks. You got characters from Mallrats. You got characters
O'Halloran shows back up.
Chasing Amy
shows back up.
Yeah. So it is kind of like it was kind of like a send off in a way, like bringing everybody back for a cameo. And
Will Ferrell was in it.
Will Ferrell, yeah.
Judd Nelson, Carrie Fisher. Mm-hmm. She plays the nun in the car.
Mm-hmm.
God, who else is on this list? It's quite the list when you look back.
Yeah.
I mean, Jon Stewart.
Chris Rock again.
Tracy Morgan.
Gus
Van Sant was in it, man.
Yeah. Ben
Shannon
Affleck,
Doherty.
Matt Damon.
I mean, it was quite the movie. It was just, it's one of those movies where you sit there and you watch and you're like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, I know him. He was in, yeah. It's one of those movies. A lot of people came out to be in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot of, pretty famous comic book writers and other Alanis Morissette is in it. There's a lot of other.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other people in it that to anybody who's not familiar, they're just oh, it was just another extra actor. But then there's one group of people that's like, oh, that's blah blah blah. He's been drawing Batman for DC for like the last 5 years. Like it was that kind of movie. Like even the people who were like the small time characters were even people that like in the right room, they were big people.
Definitely. And so with the conclusion of that film, he moved on to something different, a little different. And I don't know which one comes right after that.
I want to say it was Jersey Girl, but let me look it up before I say that.
Yeah. Get this chronology right.
Yeah, it was Jersey Girl.
Jersey Girl. I don't think I've seen this one.
You've not seen Jersey Girl?
Mm-mm.
I'll slap you. Now look, Jersey Girl gets hated on. People will call it his worst one. Well, until recently, but it gets hated on because it came out during the Ben Affleck J-Lo period, and it also came around like the same year or within months of like Geely or whatever that like really.
Where was it in relation to Daredevil?
Right in there, dude.
Daredevil rules.
Jersey Girl was Girl was 05 or 04. Wasn't Daredevil 05, 03?
Around the same. You know what we should do? Sorry, this is a side note, but we should do a podcast on every Marvel movie before the MCU.
Dude, write that down.
Yeah. Sorry.
This is how topics come to be, people. It just in the middle. I like it. Is it the greatest thing in the world? No. Carlin's in it.
What's the synopsis? It's about a guy and his daughter, right? That's the Jersey Girl. Is his daughter?
Ben Affleck ended up having a kid. His wife ends up. I don't remember if she dies while having the kid, which was played by J-Lo. They made it into this big thing that she was going to be in the movie a lot, and she dies within like the first 5-10 minutes of the movie.
Oh, okay.
So then it's up to Affleck to raise his kid. He's got like this. Of course, he's got like this huge job where it puts him in front of the media, and he's like this big to do. But he's really struggling to raise his kid. His father is trying to help him out, who's played by George Carlin, which I really like Carlin in this role. Like I really enjoyed him in this. So it kind of goes from there. So the whole movie is basically him adjusting to being a single father, trying to raise his kid, and he's not doing it well. And struggling on whether he should move, not move, career choices. It's just that kind of movie. It's also one of those ones where he kind of meets this girl and is, how's his daughter going to handle it? Basically, how is he trying? And that's the kind of movie.
I got you.
Single, adjusting after an unexpected tragedy, him adjusting to being a single father, dating, trying to figure out his career, potentially finding another, woman that seems to really like him, and that's kind of how the movie goes. I think it's one of those movies that gets...
Why do people not like it? I mean, is it just that it came out during the era where people were annoyed of Ben Affleck? And
I think it got sandbagged. It came out not at a good time. I think there was also just a lot of press crap going on around the time that movie came out. And I mean, it's nothing to write home about. I really enjoy it. The few times I've seen it, it's not one I really go back and watch a whole lot, but I enjoy it.
It sounds kind of heavy. Like it sounds like maybe it's not something you'd want to go back and rewatch a lot.
But it's really not that heavy, and that may be the problem with it. Like I mean, so that's kind of what it is.
Okay.
I think it gets some unnecessary, like unjustified hate. I just think that it was wrong time, some of the wrong casting.
Gotcha.
And if it was marketed a bit different, it may not have. I imagine it would have gotten the hate, but not quite to what it got.
All right. So what do you make after that?
Clerks 2.
Oh, so he goes right back to View Askew afterwards.
And that kind of was like, it did not go well, so I revert back to the characters that I know well and I could do well with. And
Right. But Clerks 2 is pretty damn good.
It is pretty damn good. And I will admit, Clerks 2 is the first Kevin Smith movie I watched. Mm-hmm. Not having seen Clerks.
Yeah.
And not having...
Not that you really need to, but...
Which is why I like Clerks 2. Uh-huh. Now, here's the funny thing. I'm pretty sure that mid-high school at some point, and I think you were there... It was one of those, like, we all got together at somebody's house, and Mallrats was on. Uh-huh. But I'm like, I watched, like, a piece of it, and I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not watching this.
I don't remember that at all, but it probably happened.
I do, because I laugh about it now, because I, like, later on turned into, like, Kevin Smith obsessed. But at the time, I was just like, oh, man, I don't want to watch this. So... I forget, like, I think you had gone with a group of people, and I was going with a group of people, and we kind of ended up meeting up at the theater and watching Clerks, like, unintentionally, but...
Right, yeah.
Like, we unintentionally ended up going to Clerks 2, and I can remember getting shit because like, I had not seen the first one, so, like, I'm going into Clerks 2 with no knowledge of Clerks, but I'm like, I thought it was funny, so I wanted to go see it. I watched Clerks 2, enjoyed the crap out of it, and that kind of launched, what was that, Clerks 2, 2006. So that would have been the time frame where, like, I immediately went back and watched everything that he did, found out he did podcasts, so then, like, it, like, blew up then for me.
Right.
You know, and then once I did that, the whole, like, ending of that movie hits a lot harder, you know.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, it
but the biggest thing I
works
liked,
better after you've seen the first movie. I mean, you could still enjoy Clerks 2 on its own.
Which is what I liked about Clerks 2 was, yes, it's a sequel, but it's also, I feel, a standalone that you could watch, enjoy, and not have to have seen the first one.
Yeah.
It plays a lot better and differently if you've seen the first one, but I don't feel like you have to see it in order to enjoy it, which I feel like I wish more movies would do.
Here's the thing about Clerks 2 is that, like, I like personal taste. I like the first Clerks better, but I think Clerks 2 is a much better made film, and I think the pacing of it is much better, and I think just like him as a filmmaker, it shows that how much he's improved as far as the filming goes. Like it feels more like a film, if that makes sense. Whereas Clerks feels more like a day in the life, just set up a camera and there's some people talking. Clerks 2 feels like a movie, if that makes any sense at all. Like Clerks 2 feels like it has like a 3-act structure, I guess. Okay. It feels like it's a movie. It has a beginning, middle, and end, whereas Clerks just feels like a bunch of random scenes, but in a way that it benefits from it because it is just a bunch of just a lot of he's working and a lot of just random stuff happens. But Clerks 2 feels like it has a thread line that goes from point A to point B. Like it starts here and ends here, whereas Clerks begins and ends and nothing really changes for the characters.
Right.
A lot. I mean, I don't know if I'm making a lot of sense, but
no, I mean, I feel like it's one of those where that it's. Sorry, I'm adjusting sound levels. Don't mind me.
Adjust sound.
It's one of those moments, one of those movies where you saw the potential in Clerks, and now in Clerks 2, we're seeing what he can do with. Now that he's done it a few times, he knows how to handle and do things with certain characters that are more polished, and so it does kind of. I see what you mean. It just I feel like what you're seeing is somebody who's just like, this is what I did my freshman year, and this is what I did my senior year.
Right. Yeah.
And you're seeing what happens when.
So even if like the first Clerks, like I resonate with that more, I can definitely see how like Clerks 2 is a better film, like better made, like better just improve, like you said, like a senior level film as opposed to like an amateur like beginning film.
Right.
And there's a lot of great stuff in it. Like the whole like Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings.
Oh, dude,
scene.
It's one of my favorite scenes.
And the donkey show. The Elias character is pretty funny, and the ending is wraps it up. Very, very
it's another one of those movies where like you can watch it and not have to think about it, and it's hysterical. But there's also, as much as the movie is hysterical, there's a lot of jokes going on. Underlining is a lot of there's like heart to the movie as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And maybe that's what it is. Like Clerks is very like It's very. There's a lot of jokes. There's a lot of dialogue. It dips a little into the heart, but like Clerks 2 really dug in.
Yeah.
And if you wanted it to be a really heavy movie, it could be, but it's not. It can be what you wanted it, want it to be.
Yeah. And then so that has up till now is the last appearance of Jay and Silent Bob and that whole View Askew universe, right? Like that was technically the last one.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what do you make after that?
Then we get Zack and Miri make a porno.
Oh, I love Zack and Miri make a porno, dude. This is probably my third favorite after Clerks and Mallrats.
It is. It's really high up there.
I love this movie. I think it's so fucking funny. Like I can quote this movie endlessly. Like I need a double X espresso so I can stay up all night because I'm in the mood to fuck. Like
it's very. That movie is really quotable and like. I really wish more people would watch it.
Ratzenberger was all like, "Fuck it, chug it, football." Yeah. Sorry.
We could literally probably do a pod where we just sit here and quote that movie over and over again. Yeah. That's how that movie's it's really good.
It's so good. I don't understand why people don't like it.
I don't know, and I really don't need to explain the plot because that's the title.
Zack and Miri make a porno.
They make a porno.
Yeah,
because they're gonna get kicked out of their house because they have no money.
Yeah.
So once again, it kind of mirrors the world. Like they end up trying to make one version of the porno, and they end up running into some problems.
Yep.
And then they're like, "We work at a coffee shop. Guess we're making a porno about a coffee shop."
Yeah.
So
it's I love this movie. Seth Rogen is the lead in this film.
Yeah, bringing in more
more
outside
different
characters. It's got Katie Morgan in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Craig
Robinson's in it.
Justin Long,
Elizabeth Banks.
Yep. Yeah, so a lot of good people in this movie.
A lot of
funny people.
Oh God, and it's got what's his name in it? Who plays the? Oh my God, the scene at the high school reunion. God, what's his name?
Oh, David Routh.
Yeah,
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh and Justin Long.
Yeah,
plays Brandon. Bobby Long.
Yeah. Movie with all male cast. Yeah. Like Glenn Ross? More like Glenn, what does he say?
Yeah, what? Oh,
I don't
God.
know.
Either way, you need to see the movie. Anybody,
Oh, yeah, what is it? Oh, one of my favorite quotes is he's like, "Oh, you haven't seen my films. Don't worry, you're not my demographic." He's like, "Well, what's your demographic? Do you like pussy?" "Hell yeah, I do." "Yeah, then not you." Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Definitely, it's definitely worth a watch. It was a little bit different than what he did before, but this was also one that notoriously underperformed because everybody's just like. Kevin Smith has always had this thing about breaking the $30 million barrier. And then this was his attempt at a Judd Apatow or whatever his name is movie, because at that point he was doing movies comedies he would do that were just breaking all sorts of stupid numbers. And then he tried to do his version of a Judd Apatow movie, and it just did not do what it was supposed to do. But it's another one that people go back and watch it, and they'll defend it and love it to death.
I love it. Anyways,
so then we kind of get into some rough patches. We'll just call them that. Rough patches.
Yeah.
Cop Out.
Didn't see it.
Yeah, you're probably better off.
Okay, just explain the synopsis real quick, and then try to give me a reason as to why he did this movie.
Okay. So this one's a little bit different in that he didn't write it. He only
number one.
He only directed it. He did not write it. It was also the first time that I think it was Warner Brothers who was just he had never done a big studio movie, and this was kind of the first time that somebody was just gave him a chance to do a big movie. a big movie with a huge cast. I mean, it was Bruce Willis, Tracy Morgan. Like, it was also one of those scripts that was like, God, what did they refer to him? Like, it was one of those scripts that was always on the blacklist. Like, it was on the list that was like some of the greatest screenplays that were never produced.
Okay.
It was on that list. Like,
okay.
It'd been around town. Like, people knew about it. It was written by the Coen brothers. So, and I'm sitting here, I watched it like way back when it came out because I was a Kevin Smith fan and I supported everything that he did.
Right. I don't think I saw it because, honestly, I think I didn't even know it was a Kevin Smith movie.
You probably did.
I think I saw the trailers for it and was just like, this looks stupid. I don't want to see this. And like, I had no idea it was even a Kevin Smith movie until I think after it came out. And I like realized it or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a buddy cop movie. That's about what it is, with Tracy Morgan and Bruce Willis. And then it's got like, Bruce Willis has got a kid and it's not working out. And so it's just that, like, it's that stereotypical, like, not responsible, you know, father who's trying to be there for his daughter, but it's not. And then Morgan's in there for the hijinks. And
it just looked like, straight man, funny man, like.
And that's pretty much, pretty much what it was.
And the trailers just look. I remember the trailers, and I was just like, "Nah, I'm not into it."
Yeah. So I mean, it didn't do nearly as well. It didn't. Not a lot of people liked it. A lot of people talked about, like, you know, you didn't write it. You just directed it, and that was a lot of it. You should have wrote it,
or done like a revision of it, like rewrite it, like to suit his sensibilities more.
Right. But I mean, for him, it was like, you know, he'd never done that before. He never was able to do a movie where he just directed. And so an attempt was made. He swung at it and
missed. But that happens. I mean, every director has a bad movie.
Right. I mean, to be honest, he talked about how they were going to give him another go at it. Warner Brothers asked him to make another one. So they were like perfectly okay with it, but. You know, it wasn't for him. I don't think he's done it since. I mean, he's done a lot of directing other people's work. He's done a lot of TV, but as for like a movie, I haven't seen him do it.
Yeah. Okay, so after that,
now we're really testing the area where I don't know it as well. So after Cop Out, he takes a break. We get Red State. Red
State is awesome.
Red
State's awesome.
Yeah,
this is a horror film. I call it a horror film.
Suspense, maybe. I mean, it's they have it as crime, but basically what you get is
for me. I mean, I think it's scary. Like I mean, you could call any of those things; they would all be correct. But for me, I would call it a horror.
Oh yeah, it's definitely all of those together.
And he'd never done anything like this before.
No, this was very different. Yeah, very outside of what he usually does. Definitely no Jay and Silent Bob in this one.
No. This movie is basically about a religious cult that's based on the Westboro Baptist Church people to an extent.
Roughly.
It's not them. It's not Westboro, but it's like a version of that's taken even more extreme than they are. And if you know who they are, you know they're pretty extreme already.
For a lot of reasons, they never came out and said that's what it was based on. But
they got the picketing signs, and they got
it was very close to that, and a few other groups that were like really nasty like that.
And basically, this is about these kids get lured into this trap from like a dating or like a Craigslist ad or something, like a girl that's gonna like have a threesome with them or something. So they go there and they get drugged, and because they were gonna like all have sex with each other, so there's more than one guy involved. It's considered homosexual or gay or whatever. And these religious extremists are gonna take it the step further and execute them for being homosexual.
Their sins,
yeah. And it's fucking scary, dude. Like they wrap the guy up in the foil. Like all the way up, like his whole, like basically like mummify him with the foil, and then like shoot him in the head.
Him in the top,
And then they have the other one in the cage and stuff, and it's crazy, man.
There's literally a scene where he's like preaching to the whole church, and there's just a dude like wrapped, mummified, who's about ready to get shot in the head.
Yeah.
One like up, like tied up to a post. I think one up in a cage,
one's in a cage watching. Yeah.
Yeah, and and they're gonna, and then the whole thing is like they're gonna execute them for their sins. And there's like this whole long monologue with Michael Parks, who like I think like hits it out of the park.
Oh yeah.
The dude is like creepy as all get out, and he just plays creepy like really well.
Yeah.
Like, but this was a huge step, like huge, like
yeah. You know what? Personally, I think he should have kept going in this direction, like with the serious horror, like Red State. Because I mean, just because I was like, you wouldn't even know it was directed by him, you know?
No, I don't think you would have. Like, I think a lot of people watched Red State, and I think if you didn't tell anybody who it was, I think the last person they would have come up with was
yeah. And John Goodman's in this.
Yes, John Goodman is in this, which I forget. Like, he plays a FBI agent.
Yeah.
Who's kind of sent in to kind of,
and then it ends with a whole big shootout.
Yeah, which
too.
I mean is kind of loosely based on some other things, but yeah, in essence they go, and then there's a whole scene at the end which I won't. That like it makes you think like the rapture, the whatever it is coming. But yeah, there's a lot of cast in here that ended up going into Affleck's next movie and winning an Oscar. So, but yeah, I really dig this movie. I haven't watched it in a while. Now I really kind of want to go back and watch it.
Right, yeah.
Because it's really good.
Weird tidbit about Red State that goes into our first podcast. I believe Red State was the last movie I ever bought on DVD before getting Blu-ray.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Don't ask me why I remember that, but I believe it is.
Dang.
It was like right before I got a Blu-ray. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm trying to think. I think that was one I ended up getting that one on I think I have it on Blu-ray. I have everything on everything for him. I have like 2-3 different versions of everything that he owns, and I have it. You're gonna hear a lot of random crap, people. I'm college. Oh god. Oh god.
Don't shove that mic too far in your mouth.
Mic down. The whole arm's going.
Oh no. It's gonna sound. It's gonna sound really weird for a little bit here.
Oh god. Sorry, everybody.
Technical difficulties.
Oh god.
You might have to stand up for this.
I don't know. I'm so scared.
Oh no.
I'm so scared it's gonna go. I'm trying to get rid of the bouncing so everybody doesn't hear the mic bounce so much, but I think I fucked it up. We may have to look into a different system, but anyway, that'll be the next one. Trying to figure out everything. All right. So
yeah.
Anyway,
Anyways.
I think it's one that people need to see. Give it a chance. It's not. I think a lot of people didn't give it a chance because it's not his regular thing. It was very different, but I think a lot of people need to go back and watch that one again because I think it's really good.
Yes, I agree.
So then after that, we get Tusk.
Yeah. Okay. Well.
See, I like Tusk. I think it's freaking. I think it's awesome.
I like parts of Tusk.
All right, I'll give you that.
I think I liked it more when I first saw it, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, it didn't. I don't know. I didn't feel the same way after rewatching it that I did the first time. It kind of like... I
mean, I'll be honest, I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe I'll feel the same way.
It kind of like enraged me. And like maybe that's the point of the film. I don't know. But I don't know. Just the fact that Justin Long's character is like so like helpless during the whole situation. Like there's like nothing he can do at any point in time. Like he can't even like try to fight back or run away. And I don't know. I think I was just watching that and I was in a very like angry mood already. And I was just like, I just really wanted to punch the Michael Parks, not Michael Parks, but the Michael Parks character in the face.
Right.
And like, I was just like so mad that like Justin Long couldn't do it. And I don't know. I think I just got like, I don't know. It just made me angry.
I mean, for those who haven't seen it, it's basically a movie about a dude who turns another dude into a walrus.
Yeah. Well, he like mutilates him into a walrus. He doesn't like. It's not like, you know, he doesn't turn him into a walrus.
Hey, the end of the movie, he's living in an animal like containment area as a walrus man. Yeah,
and I don't know. And then they get these weird scenes of Johnny Depp which are funny, but it just like the contrast is so weird. I don't know. I guess I'm very mixed on this movie. I don't know. Because like I think the scenes are funny on their own, but I think just the mixture of the two, it's just very strange. I don't know if it works.
It's a very like it's a very mixed bag. That's all I will say. It's a very mixed bag.
Yeah. But I mean, more power to him for coming up with a crazy idea, and
it was born out of the Smodcast.
Right? Yeah,
it was born out of a podcast.
Right? Yeah.
So
like I mean, yeah, you should make the movies that you want to make, regardless of the subject matter or how weird they are. Like I'm all for like artists making crazy movies. So like I totally respect that. Like, you know, fuck it, let's make a walrus movie. Like that aspect, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So. All right, man. You ready for the next one?
I guess.
Yoga hosers.
Yeah, this movie sucks.
Yeah, it's really not that good.
The only thing about it I like is Lily Rose Depp is kind of hot, but I don't know if she's over 18 in this movie, so maybe I shouldn't say that.
Yeah,
she is now, so it's cool.
I love it. Like she's now, so it's cool. It's cool, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, this movie's weird. It's all over the place. It tries to intertwine into the Tusk situation. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's about two girls that work at a store. So we're back to that concept, except this time there's like some kind of demonic thing happening underneath the store, right?
Yeah, like
and there's sausage people,
Nazis.
Yeah.
Run by Ralph Garman. Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah,
I don't know what else to say about this movie other than it's just weird.
I don't know. I was watching it like, well, this is a movie, I guess.
Yeah. You're kind of like, yeah.
Yeah.
I really got nothing else to say about it. I love me some Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I bought it. I supported him, but not his best. That's what I'll say.
No. And that's he didn't make another movie after that yet.
He hasn't made. He's done a lot of TV since.
Okay.
Hasn't done another movie, but I mean, kind of the one I would have forced Ryan to do a Kevin Smith one, as I said at the beginning. But it's also he just recently went into production on Jay and Silent Bob Reboot.
Yes. Yeah. So now we're going back into the Jay and Silent Bob world once again. And I think this movie really is like a kind of like a fond, like a reunion, like a kind of like a high school reunion in a way. Like,
right.
It's been a long time since I've made these movies, these original, series of film. It's not a series, but universe of movies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's going back to characters he hasn't touched in years.
Since 2006.
Right.
Yeah.
Since Clerks 2, he hasn't touched these characters. So I'm excited about it, like overly excited about it. He's starting to show like sneak peeks of who's coming back for it, which has got me even more excited about. I mean, and I think the premise of the movie just sounds ridiculous. So
yeah, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like they're making a new Jay and Silent Bob movie.
They're doing a reboot of Blunt Man and Chronic.
Yeah, it's a remake
of
the first movie. Which is what they were trying to stop in the first movie.
Right. And
so I think that concept's
now
really
they're going
to
try to return to Hollywood to try to stop the reboot of Blunt Man and Chronic.
Yeah.
Because why do you need to do another reboot of a movie?
Right. So yeah, that's the concept's funny. All the actors and characters are there, so it should be pretty good.
I mean, as I said, I'm like really excited about it. Like I can't wait to see it.
So with all the with the entire filmography laid out, we definitely see he's had some ups and downs.
Right.
Would you say like there's a part of his career you think he was at his peak? Do you think he's hit his peak? Do you think do you think he's already hit his peak of filmmaking, or do you think there's still like gold to come, 10 out of 10 to come?
I think I think you want to look at this in context. Mm-hmm. Honestly. I think he's got I think we'll see a Kevin Smith movie comedy that comes out and cracks the $30 million barrier and has a really good following. Like, I'm not saying Bridesmaids numbers, but I'm talking like that comedy that comes out and does fantastic, wins the weekend. Like, I think he still has that in him someplace. I think we'll see it eventually. I don't. Is that him hitting his peak? Maybe, but I think a lot, including myself, pine for the early years of like when he was doing Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, which at the time, were not seen as they are today. Like, the staying power of those movies is incredible. They always did well once they got in and they got into everybody's hands and people started to see them. So like, I don't think we'll see people look at. I don't think we can recreate what he did in with his early movies, like up until like 2006. I don't think we'll see that again, but I think we'll see him peak again in a different way, just not in the way that we would want to see. Well, I don't know how to. Not that we wouldn't want to see it, but not in the way that we would expect him to peak again. I guess.
That makes sense. I think if he did have a peak, it probably was the like Clerks 2 time.
Okay.
That probably was like because that was kind of the culmination of all the movies he'd made before it, in a way. And I'd also say like branching out, doing something different with like Red State was also like
another highlight.
Yeah.
Like if you were doing a highlight reel for him, like Red State would be on there.
Yeah.
I think Clerks 2 would be on there.
Yeah.
I'd put a little blurb of Zack and Miri in the make a
totally. So I don't know if he's just gonna keep trying to make like weird different films, because I think that's the thing. I think it's like after he finished the View Askew movies, he's been trying a lot of different things, and some hit like Red State, and some like Yoga Hosers.
Not so much.
Yeah, and Cop Out. So it's just like, where is he gonna shoot for next? Is he still gonna try to do something completely different? And then when he does do something completely different, it's kind of a matter of, does it land or does it not land?
I mean, but I like the fact that he's at least trying and he's not staying into one area. But I mean, and we didn't even get into like all the podcasts and everything else that guy he's doing. He's always doing something,
right?
So yeah, I don't think we've seen. I think we're going to see another Kevin Smith peak. It'll just be for something that we just weren't expecting.
Right on. Sweet. Well, that's the filmography. We've been going in almost an hour and a half.
It's true. Which wasn't going to be hard to do. I figured with this one was going to go long because, I mean, it's Kevin Smith, man. I love me some Kevin Smith.
Yeah. Why don't you marry him?
If only, dude. If only.
You maybe marry his daughter. Oh wait, she's got a boyfriend.
Yeah. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, you don't want to mess that up.
I couldn't do that. I respect that man too much. Couldn't do it.
Well,
but Matt, you always ask me final thoughts, sir.
My final thoughts is I think he's a great filmmaker. I think he has a lot of talent. I think he makes great characters. I do think the first half of his career as a whole is better. But with the second half, he's tried a lot of different things, and I do respect the fact that he's like branches out and attempts to make different things. So, so I'm always looking forward to what he's making next because, I love more of his films than I don't love. So,
right.
So anything he puts out in the future, I'm always going to be excited to see and check out. Because I think he does make really good films. So that's what I'd say.
And I can't say very much because my room looks like a creepy shrine to everything that he does. So, like, and I completely blanked that the entire time we've been talking. The whole backside of my laptop is just Kevin Smith stickers. So I didn't even think about that.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel a little gross. I am that guy. Let's just be honest. My final thoughts. I'm that guy.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's got like 3-4 signed posters, movie posters. I got like, you name the like niche.
Hey,
I have a Buddy Christ on my desk. I have a Movies on my desk. I mean, I got like 3 or 4 different variations of the action figures.
Yeah.
Like if I could buy, I have all of his books. I'm that guy. Let's just leave it at that. I'm that guy when it comes to Kevin Smith, So
Hey, it's cool, man. It's better than having a shrine dedicated to like, I don't know, Trump.
Well, I guess on that took a turn to the right. And I guess on that note, we'll see you guys next week.
America.
Yeah, next time.
See you guys.
We really shouldn't do next week because who knows if we get this out weekly.
Yeah, you know.
So next time, we'll see you next time.
On next time, same bat channel, same bat time. Not the same time.
Only here on smodcast.com.
Dude, are they paying us, man?
No, I'm sorry.
Are we? Come on.
Smodcast.com, though. It's really cool. You should go there. It's got a lot of good podcasts. Just throwing that out there.
Wow. Promoting another podcast on our podcast.
They're really good, though. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm sure that's true, but come on.
Dude, I'm sorry, man, but they're really good, dude. Free promotion, man. You can't get any better than that. Dude, I'm sorry. Quit shaking your head at me. I'm sorry. Bye, everybody.